Are you a successful entrepreneur and want as much of your income as possible to remain and not to deduct most of the taxes? Pay 1% taxes up to 1.5 million euros annual turnover, recognition of the local tax office, and away from unfair regulations? Yes, you heard me right. The 1% tax model is recognized, established, and is implemented by thousands of companies every day, all within the EU. No gray areas or windy offshore concepts. We will now explain how you can use this for yourself in 3 simple steps. 1. Set up a company in an EU country with a double taxation agreement and a tax rate of 1% with annual sales of up to 1.5 million euros and annual sales of up to approximately 60,000 euros VAT exempt. We will accompany you. 2. Observe all provisions so that the double taxation agreement takes effect and you only pay tax on your income in the new EU company and not additionally in your home country and country of residence. We will explain how. 3. Ensure that the EU company is recognized and taxed by your local tax office. Your tax office can even confirm the recognition in writing. We'll show you how. We at GoEU are an association of entrepreneurs and apply this concept to our companies on a daily basis. Yes, and of course, that works not only for us, but for many other self-employed people too. However, without competent assistance and proper setup, it is not easy to implement. And that's why we started a few years ago and founded GoEU with the mission to help every self-employed person and entrepreneur to reduce their tax burden and to convert safe taxes into assets. After years of struggling, we have now created a setup that allows us to set up a company including a bank account within 14 days, 100% remote, i.e. without any travel. A flight to Romania is not necessary for the founding process. Because of our many years of experience and network, we have now managed to work with a high-ranking lawyer with notarial authority who replaces any physical notary appointment on site. An appointment with a lawyer is arranged digitally, i.e. by telephone or video call. This process is unique and sets new standards in the founding process. We accompany you through all the necessary steps, offices, notary and bank appointments, and setting up the bookkeeping. If you're interested in founding a company in the EU, we look forward to hearing from you. Below, we give you the 11 most important questions and answers to reduce your tax burden. 1. Is all the effort worth it? We can say in advance that it is not worthwhile for companies that make very small profits, 1 to 3% annual profit, to open an EU company far from home. However, you want to make a profit, not sell unnecessary things just to save taxes, but grow with your company in the profit zone? Then this model will stand up to any cost comparison calculation. Office, bookkeeping, and staff is very affordable in Eastern European countries and hardly matters. A tax of just 1% on sales is hard to beat. 2. Isn't this only worthwhile for medium-sized and larger companies? But on the contrary, establishing a company in the EU as a permanent establishment abroad is particularly interesting for small and medium-sized companies. Romania has one of the most liberal small business regulations in the EU. The upper limit is around 60,000 euros per year in order to be completely exempt from sales tax. This means you can confidently generate sales of over 5,000 euros per month, pay no sales tax, and tax your company income at only 1%. 3. Can I found a company completely remotely? Establishing a company remotely is usually very difficult, since the process usually drags on for several months due to notary appointments, including a sworn Romanian interpreter from the Romanian embassy still have to be provided with an apostille. An exception at GoEU, what is usually only accessible to diplomats, now also for customers at GoEU. Incorporation 100% remotely thanks to our senior lawyer with notarial authority. 4. What does your service include? After years of struggling, we have now created a setup that allows us to set up a company, including a bank account, within 14 days, 100% remote, i.e. without any travel. A flight to Romania is not necessary for the founding process. Because of our many years of experience and network, we have now managed to work with a high-ranking lawyer with notarial authority who replaces any physical notary appointment on site. An appointment with a lawyer is arranged digitally, i.e. by telephone or video call. This process is unique and sets new standards in the founding process. 5. What exactly does a company formation contain? The founding of the company includes partnership agreement prepared by a notary, sworn interpreter, registered office of the company, company address, signature sample of the managing director prepared by a notary, registration application of the company, proof of deposit of the share capital, bank account opening, authorization of an accountant tax office by a notary. 6. If I opt for the full service package from GoEU, will I receive further help afterwards? Of course! Since our clients have been very satisfied to date, we're always happy to receive recommendations and will continue to support you free of charge with smaller queries in business operations. 7. Is an EU company, for example in Romania, always recognized by the local tax office? Recognition is a flexible term. It is perfectly legitimate and legal to open and run a company branch in a European country due to the freedom of establishment in the EU. Such company openings take place every day thousands of times by small, medium-sized, and large companies. The decisive factor is the recognition of the double taxation agreement or the avoidance of double taxation in both countries. 8. What do I have to do so that I only tax the income in the new EU company and not additionally in my home country? In order to pay taxes only on income generated in the foreign company, the company has to be registered in the catalog of the DTA, i.e. the activity of the company or the natural person. Almost all services and trades are covered or exempt from double taxation. 9. Germany, for example, has DTAs with over 100 countries worldwide. Then I could set up a company in Dubai and pay 0% taxes right away? Yes, that is also possible, but very difficult to implement in practice. A real business operation must take place in the respective state far away from home, like all managing directors' meetings and decisions. If this is not the case, the foreign company is only seen as a permanent establishment, and the taxation right lies in the home country. It is therefore much easier to set up a company that is also based in the EU, so that it only pays taxes in the country of incorporation. In addition, an EU company does not cause any suspicion at the local tax office, in contrast to a Dubai offshore company. 10. What happens if the EU company is not recognized? Can I get into trouble with the local tax office? The worst possible case that can happen is that double taxation occurs, i.e. you pay additional taxes on the income not only in the source country, but also in my own home country or country of residence. The foreign EU company should be notified to the tax office in the country of residence from the start. If this is the case, no complications with the local tax authorities can be expected. Such EU company foundations are common practice and take place thousands of times a day. To date, recognition by the local tax office has worked successfully for all of our clients. 11. Can I have my local tax office confirm me the taxation, and I only pay tax at the low tax rates in the distant EU country? Yes, that is even possible. This is also used more often than you think. However, since such an application is very time-consuming and expensive, which means that the hourly rates of the tax office employees plus fees have to be paid, This is only recommended for a certain company size. This is commonplace at accounting firms such as Deloitte, PwC, EY, and KPMG. But beware, it is only a company branch in an EU country and no tax constructs. If a few things are taken into account, then nothing stands in the way of recognition even without an application. We have clarified the worst-case scenario in the previous question, and it is more harmless than you might think. Namely, paying taxes in 2 countries instead of just one, without consequences or being branded at the tax office in any way. To date, recognition by the local tax office has worked successfully for all of our clients without exception.